Hey everyone, so it's been about a week since the Final Fantasy XIV stream showcasing the new expansion, Endwalker. Now that I've had some extra time to kind of sit and let everything kind of marinate, I wanted to provide my thoughts on how I feel about the announcement showcase and how it went. So let's go ahead and start. We have a lot to talk about. I'm going to start with the live letter first, since there isn't too much to say here in regards to the new patch, but there's a couple topics I do want to talk about. So patch 5.5, Death Unto Dawn, is being broken up into two parts. Part 1 is going to be releasing April 13th, and Part 2 is set to release the end of May. This is going to conclude the Shadowbringers MSQ, and also bring in the last of the Yorhar Dark Apocalypse raid, a new Unreal Trial, the Chronicles of Whirlit, which will be our final trial for Diamond Weapon. This means all trials are going to be done, and the final dragon mounts can be attained, so good luck to everybody on collecting all those dragons. Ishgardian Restoration will also be updated with festivals being performed, but no really details are really given. There will also be one more resistant weapon upgrade for the Save the Queen questline, which some changes to make some of the memories easier to obtain. So hopefully we'll see a lot more people doing Lactus Latori, Castrum Lactus Latori, that is, so that people can get in there and do what they do so they can actually do Deliberum Reginae. So unless I missed something, I think that pretty much covered that. Overall, this is just kind of our setup patch for the next expansion, so the excitement around the MSQ is going to be really hyped, more or less, and fun to see, so I'm really excited for that. The biggest piece of content missing from this particular patch is the Ultimate Trial. We were told, unfortunately, that the Ultimate Trial is going to be delayed now until 6.1 due to the pandemic and having to shift resources to work on the new expansion. We were, however, told that the new trial will be the Dragon Song War, so that's really cool to see. I'm excited for that, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. But it does suck. I have heard some negativity around this, and to be honest, it's sad to hear people really criticizing the devs for delaying the ultimate trial for us and working on something like Island Sanctuary for 6.0 instead. As myself as an alternate raider, I have to say, I am disappointed. However, I completely understand what the devs are going through, and what they have to do to try to test all these things to make it work. There's a lot of back and forth communication that needs to happen to make sure these ultimate trials are ready and up to standard. And I know Yoshida delaying this he's not happy with it, but unfortunately things had to be made and had to be cut. So again, we're not losing it, we're just getting it later, and I'm completely fine with it. But really, I can't agree with those who are criticizing the dev team on focusing on 6.0 for something that's content that's related to less than 5% of the player base. For those that are bashing the dev team, I in my opinion, you're completely wrong, and you should really take a look at the bigger picture, and make and understand what the dev team has to go through. Whatever keeps them safe, whatever they got to do to keep things safe for them, and be able to still produce the quality content we receive. I'll be 100% supporting the team in all honesty. I'm gonna go ahead and end the rant there on that. But that's just how I feel about that. All right, so all the bad news and sad news out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about Endwalker. So we received the teaser trailer for Endwalker, showcasing the coming of the end of Eorzea, another calamity. And of course, we are going to the moon. I think it was back in either Shadowbringer's first teaser trailer or in Stormblood. I can't even remember when it was. There was a lot of tease like saying that we were going to go to the moon. I think he said like, "Oh, we're going to the moon in 7.0," and it was more just kind of like a joke. But I guess the jokes ended up being true. Overall, the teaser was great. Seeing everything on fire is crazy. It's almost like this will kind of be like our Cataclysm. Like if anybody who's played World of Warcraft, this kind of feels like a Cataclysm-like expansion, which will be very interesting. Hopefully better than the World of Warcraft Cataclysm expansion, I'll say that. One thing I'm really looking forward to is the 6.0 MSQ will be completed by the end of the leveling process, meaning that the Highland Zodiac arc will conclude when we finish leveling and finish with all the MSQ quests. I'm excited for that because that means we're like story-wise, we're kind of done. It'll be a close. It'll be good to have that kind of closure, and then we can use the point whatever patches after 6.0 to set up the next arc. So it'll be kind of like in A Realm Reborn when patch 2.1 through 2.55, how that set up the whole Heavensward story and where we were going to go from there. So really looking forward to that. Um, Also, they mentioned that the expansion was going to release in fall of 2021, which is what I originally was thinking. With the 2 to 3 month delay that they were talking about, if we look at it, usually they release around June, July-ish timeframe. So I'm going to go ahead and predict the end of September, the first week in October for now. We'll see where that goes. I actually could see it later into October, but I'm hoping for last week of September, first week in October. So during the trailer, we got to see our new healer, the Sage, and man, was my predictions off in regards to the jobs. So starting with just the jobs, we are going to get 2 new jobs: a healer, which is a Sage, and a melee DPS. So not only did I get the healer wrong, I also predicted a caster DPS, and we got a melee instead. So don't worry, caster mains. I feel your pain. I am a caster main myself. Our time will come. I'm assuming that'll more than likely be in the next expansion, but we'll see. So the Sage is nothing like previous Sages in Final Fantasy games. So this is a very interesting take on it. I'm getting a lot of like PSO2/Gundam vibes with the battle animations. The weapons are called Nolus, I think is how they pronounced it. And the Sage uses Aether to manipulate those for combats. So that'll be really interesting to see. Also, this is a barrier healer like Scholar. So speaking of barrier healers, the dev team is sticking with the identity of pure healers and barrier healers, which is very interesting because I believe back in Shadowbringers, the reason why they didn't want to do the healer or produce a healer was they wanted to move away from this identity and do something like a big overhaul for the healers in general. But however, it sounds like they're gonna go ahead and double down on these type of roles, as this is their identity they feel the healers are in. So hey, I'm looking forward to see what they have planned for that. So since Scholar and Sage are going to be our barrier healers, that means that they did mention that Astrologian is going to be adjusted to be a pure healer like White Mage. So we'll have to see what kind of changes come down for Astrologian down the road. Overall, I love the design, and I can't wait to play it. It looks like a ton of fun. Speaking on the second job, the melee DPS, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not confident to predict anything at this point. The Sage is so unique. I have to literally toss out the book for any previous jobs for a melee DPS. The only thing I feel confident in saying is that the next melee DPS job will have a scythe or a scimitar-like weapon, since the shirts that Yoshi P wears, which is, if anybody doesn't know, he usually likes to tease previous job or new jobs coming up. So like when the Red Mage was announced, he wore a t-shirt with Scarlet Witch. Samurai had a tease in regards to the director of the Spider-Man series, Sam Raimi. So he usually tries to like throw something in like that to kind of get people to kind of like get their thoughts looked into. And this time around, he had 2 like Grim Reaper type characters. So I think that kind of really solidifies that we're gonna get something that uses like a scythe, like or like a scimitar type weapon. We'll see. We also know from a recent interview with Yoshi P that the job set will use the same gear set as Dragoon. So that was kind of like their basis. Like no one shares anything with maiming gear, and that's I think what they used to go back to see what they wanted to use. So that's the gear set that I will use. Either way, I'll be looking forward to the surprise. Maybe we'll do predictions if I get more information down the road that may lead to something, but right now I'm just not confident at all to say anything. So the locations that we're going to be going to, obviously the moon was one. It was clearly listed in the description. Garlemald is another one that we're going to be going to, which looks like it's been blown up to bits and pieces. It looks terrible. It's seen better days for sure. And then Thavnir, which is a subtropical environment full of colorful imagery. I'm getting a lot of like India type vibes from this place. So I don't know if that's going to be really close to Charlene or not. That was in my predictions video about going there. But this is kind of a cool alternative take. I'd love to see it, and it looks like a ton of fun. Most of the rest of the comments of the going for the expansion are pretty standard. Level increase is going to get increased to 90. The new jobs will start at 70. New trial was shown off. Well, they didn't really say new trial. They just said a new like enemy anima will be shown up, but I'm pretty sure that's our first trial that we'll be facing. Interesting, they have the anima director or the art person, the director who made anima character is actually on the dev team and recreated it for 14, and it looks fantastic. The new raid is going to be Pandemonium, which is another raid that's going to be really closely tied to the MSQ. And it shows a picture of La Habrea in the background. So this already has me hyped for it. Also, I think Pandemonium is a city, and like a city based in hell from Paradise Lost or Dante's Inferno. I'm not really sure. I can't remember exactly. So I'm wondering if we're going to see like some similarities or maybe some things pulled in from there. Either way, I think it's going to be fantastic. It looks like a ton of fun. The new 24-man raid was announced, but nothing else other than the fact that it was not going to be a crossover, but instead going to focus on a original story based on the Final Fantasy XIV lore that has been in mystery for a while. This is super awesome. Anything that gives us more lore for the place that we play our game in Eorzea is a big win in my book. I haven't really been a big fan of the crossover events, the crossover raids. So like Ivalice was okay, because they've actually like adapted that more as they've gone along. But Yorhar, I just haven't really liked it. So that's just my opinion. Maybe this last one will be good and it'll make it a lot better, but I just like things that are grounded in our world that we play in Eorzea, and I love to see what they got in store for us. They did also introduce a new small-scale PvP mode, but they really didn't say too much for this. They said it was kind of more geared toward casual players, to try to get people into PvP. I'm not really a PvPer myself, and PvP is not really big into 14, which is probably the weakest point in the game, more or less. But this may be a good way to introduce new players to PvP. They also mentioned that they were going to be doing better rewards for PvP. Like they showed, I think, a gear set, and it looked awesome. But we'll have to see what they do with PvP. They did leave a small comment or mention that if this goes well, it sounds like that the feast would be removed. I'm not sure how I feel on that. I know there's a lot of dedicated feast players out there that play the feast every time it comes around for each season. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. But I really hope it does well for both sides, for the player base and for PvPers. Maybe this will help out the game tremendously. So we'll just have to wait and see. They did mention that Role Quest will be back again, but instead of having 4 like that we did in Shadowbringers, there will be 5. So instead of having a tank, a healer, a melee / physical DPS, and then a ranged DPS, we will now have a tank, a healer, a melee DPS, a caster DPS, and a ranged physical DPS. So we'll be getting more. I actually really enjoyed the role-related quests we got in Shadowbringers. I thought they were really fun. It kind of showed off a little bit more liveliness in the zones, or a little more in the lore of Norvrent. So, hey, more lore is always a plus. So I'm looking forward to that. To mention the trust system, we'll be getting updated with our favorite Dragoon, Estinian, as a trust. So that'll be fun. They're probably going to be moving forward with that more or less, going forward with a lot of stuff. So I wasn't surprised seeing that. Trust is really fun. It helps me level my other jobs. So yeah, it was really cool to do that. New feature being brought into Endwalker is Island Sanctuaries. I am looking really forward to this. So they didn't really explain too much on it, but it looks kind of like a Harvest Moon / Stardew Valley type of game, casual farming game, just built into 14. Hopefully we'll get some more information in May when we have the digital event. But other than that, looks really cool, and it looks like a lot of fun to try. Ishgard District will be available in 6.1. I thought it was going to be a lot earlier, but they decided to go in 6.1 instead. They did say that they mentioned that they were going to be addressing the housing concerns, that there'd be more plots, but they said it was also going to have the Ishgard housing was going to have the same amount of plots as the other ones. So I'm not really sure how this is going to resolve that issue, but hey, I'm crossing my fingers. I'm not a big housing person myself. I got one, but that's all I have, and I don't really do much to it. So any of those housing connoisseurs that are looking to move into Ishgard, I wish you the best of luck. Gold Saucer is getting an update. They mentioned that they were bringing something big like Mahjong, and that it was going to be multiplayer. Got a lot of the chat talking in that moment of Blitzball was a lot that was pulling up. I feel like that's gotta be it. Like if I was to really put like a stake in it, it's gotta be that. How would they tease something big? They said something big in Gold Saucer, and it was multiplayer. I just don't feel like there would be any other thing that they could put in there besides Blitzball. But hey, we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, we get some more at the Digital Fan Fest. The next thing that they mentioned was the data center visits, which is what I predicted they were going to do. We kind of knew this was coming down long anyway. They didn't really go into specific details on it, that it was just going to work like the world visit system. They did mention, though, that in order for you to do this, you would have to log out of your current data center and then log into the data center you wanted to. So, like, for example, I'm on Aether, and if I wanted to go play with somebody on Crystal, I have to log out of my Aether server, log into Crystal, and then log in that way. So they did bring about a worry that I had in regards to economy. They mentioned that they were worried that there was going to be issues with the economy, but the data that they got from the world visit system, they didn't see any big issues or concerns for it. So they're fine with it. So I think we still need a little bit more reasons to spend our gil in the game, because it just kind of seems a little haphazardly. There's like people just skill cap and they have nothing to spend it on. But hey, they have more feedback than me, and they know their game way more than I do. So, hey, it sounds like everything's good to go. So they did also mention some battle changes that are going to be coming in 6.0. They did mention the stat squish, which is what I predicted was going to happen. Apparently, some of the numbers were getting so big that it was breaking the game. So what they're going to be doing is reducing everything in 6.0. They really kind of took a long time talking about this too, saying that, you know, your character wasn't going to feel weaker or anything in that nature. I mean, it's going to be, but hey, you know, in an MMO, these things happen. I think World of Warcraft's gone through like 2 stat squishes like within like 4 or 5 years or something like that. So it's definitely not a big deal in my opinion, and it just makes it better for the game. You're just going to have to do them every now and then. So better now than later, I guess. They also mentioned they were going to be removing belts. To me, it doesn't really matter. They said that it was not really used as just kind of like a stat stick in a sense. Nothing special about it. So they decided to remove the 30 slots that were designated for the belts. They're going to give some of that to the main hand weapons and some of it to the rings. And they're going to keep 5 slots to be held in reserve as backups to whatever they need as for like a rainy day. I really don't have much to add here. It is what it is. It doesn't really matter to me. It's not a big deal. Finally, the last thing they showed off was the PS5 will be available for Final Fantasy in 6.0 with an open beta starting on April 13th, which is the same day as patch 5.5 part 1. So anyone who has a copy of a PS4 game, a copy of the PS4 game, will be able to upgrade to the PS5 for free, which is awesome. I have a PS5 and I have 14 on it, so I might give it a shot on open beta and just test it out and see how it looks and how it runs. So they mentioned faster load times, better FPS, things of that nature. So it looks like it's going to be fantastic. They didn't say anything about Xbox One X support. It sounds like that's not going to happen. I'm still crossing my fingers because I would love to have more player bases in the game, and opening it up to the Xbox family would be awesome. But maybe we're just not there yet. Maybe the Sony still wants to hold on to that contract with Square Enix, so we'll see what happens down the road. And then finally, they mentioned a couple things, minions that they'll be from Final Fantasy IV that you can be purchasing later on around the Digital Fan Fest, as well as the 8-seated mount, the Lunar Whale, which is definitely something I'm going to be getting, as it looks really cool. So they did show off that, and then pretty much that was it. They showed off that the Digital Fan Fest will be sometime in May. I don't remember if we got a hard date or not on that. If someone remembers, put it in the comments so I can remember that. But I don't remember them saying anything about that. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. A lot of exciting news. We'll get more in May for sure. I'm hoping that in May we'll get the full trailer as well as an official release date, as well as we're going to see the new Melee job. With some more specific details on some of the things they just announced. Like, I'm sure the Golden Saucer thing they will announce and let us know what that actually is. Give us some more info on the island sanctuary, and then some other things as well. So I'm hoping that we'll also see a battle trailer with all the new battle actions for the new jobs. I don't know for there just yet. That might be something they hold on a little bit longer, but we'll see. But anyway, I would like to try to cut this video because it's already about 20 minutes and I don't want it to go any longer. So with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe. share this video, and let me know what else you guys wanted to go down the road. I think my next video that I want to think about trying to do is doing my top 10 Eden bosses. Since my group is just about finished with E12S Phase 2, I'd like to kind of go ahead and get my thoughts on that. So that might be something I'll work on this week and maybe have it up next week. We'll see what happens. But until then, I will talk to you all later and hope you have a great day. And I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care.